Tim Haviland. Imagine it's 30 years from now and the two college students at Oklahoma University are now 50 years old. When their kid searches them, should it be the first thing they find, this racist chant they did, or should they not find it at all?
I wouldn't want Google to be uniquely privileged to answer that question.
Jonathan Zittrain, does the other side want to respond to that? Eric Posner.
I think that would need to be public because it was a huge public event in this country. I do think that if some kids, put a racist statement on Facebook, and 30 years from now that came up, I would be troubled by that. And the reason for being troubled by that is that people develop over time. The one thing that you do as a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old doesn't define you for your life. Even if you did something a lot more serious, committed a crime, for example. The problem is that when you're 50 now, the person who Googles you may well know nothing about what you've done over the last 33 years. And they get this hit. And although one would wish that people would take into account the passage of time, I think it's human nature to jump to conclusions and assume that this 50-year-old person is the same as the 17-year-old.
From a statistic I read while preparing for this, I understand that in Europe, 89% of all Google users never go to the second page. Mm-hmm. They're only looking at what comes up on the first page. Andrew McLaughlin.
Well, so I feel this very deeply. The notion that one terrible thing that you do or is associated with you trails you your entire life, I think is heartbreaking. And it's something that concerns me deeply. And I think a lot about that. The internet has leapt way ahead of the human capacity to kind of situate incidents like that in a broader context of somebody's life. And so, my view on this is still censorship, which I don't mean to be kind of like a nuclear bomb that ends this argument, but to position this as what it is, which is a right to force other people to delete things that they would otherwise rather not delete, is not the right answer. We need to have the internet evolve. I'd like to see Google evolve to add a more direct right to respond. And by the way, footnote, they've tried. They created something called Google Plus, where anybody could create a profile. It shows up very high in your results. You can populate that with any data you want to about yourself. And I think broadly, though, as a society, we have to kind of learn how not to judge people in this incredibly harsh way that we seem kind of inclined to do.